Hello, underachievers! So, real quick, before I get into the video, just want to remind you guys that I'm going on tour in January. I am touring with Sophie Powers and the Oozers. It's going to be the best time. Tickets are only £12 and these are the dates that I'm going to. So if you live near any of these dates, you want to have a party, you want to hang out, then, you know, grab some tickets. The link's in the description. So, I have not posted a video in about 2 weeks. If you don't care about my personal life, then you can skip to this time code and we'll just get straight onto the unpopular opinions. But if you do care about my, the personal life, then keep watching, I guess. If you're hearing a lot of noise in the background, it's because my rat decided to be really loud today. So yeah, why has it been 2 weeks? Pretty much, I have just been crazy, flat out busy for the past 3 weeks, really. I've been in the studio for the past 3 weeks. I've gone to a YouTube convention that was 3 days long. I played a gig there. I've just been really stressed. I've had a lot of, you know, important things to do. I've been in the studio writing and, you know, recording songs, and I get very easily overwhelmed. My work days have been really long. Like, I'd leave the house at like 8 AM and come home at like midnight and then not eat properly and not exercise properly and not like look after myself, really. I've not been looking after myself, which is, you know, not great. But the last time I didn't post for 2 weeks, the algorithm bit me in the ass. So it would actually be really helpful if you guys could like and comment a bunch on this video and then share the video with all your friends. That would be wonderful. But yeah, I am back now. Hopefully there won't be another 2 week gap. It's just very hard to sit down and film a video when I'm really stressed, when I have like so many deadlines running around in my head, I have so many other things to think about. It's just difficult to film when I'm stressed, and I wouldn't be filming a video that's enjoyable to watch if I'm stressed. So, not stressed right now. Let's stay that way. So, unpopular opinions. Opinions which are unpopular, specifically about the LGBT community, which apparently a lot of people seem to have unpopular opinions about the LGBT community. I've been known to have an unpopular opinion or two, which is not actually something to be proud of, but I've made a good few videos like this over the years, and I think it's just interesting to see how my, you know, personality has changed, and also how, like, my opinions have changed. Fortunately, I'm not an edgy little 16-year-old anymore. I'm 22, and I hope I am not as insufferable now as I was then. Let's go on to the unpopular opinions. And by the way, the people sending in these opinions don't necessarily hold the opinions that they send in. They could just be opinions that they've heard. So, somebody said, not all gay people have mental illnesses or ADHD. I would have to disagree with that. Somebody else said, a lot of feminine gay men need to stop making rudeness, sass, a personality trait. I agree with this. Obviously, this is not exclusively a gay thing. I don't understand why anyone thinks being mean or rude or sassy is like a positive trait to have. I guess that, like, it's funny in some instances. If you're with friends and you're giving each other a bit of sass, that's cool, but like being unnecessarily rude to people that don't really deserve it, not a vibe. Not a vibe. I don't know why I thumbs up. I've actually been thinking about this a lot in terms of like the gay community, and I have an idea. And this could be complete bullshit, but I kind of feel like the level of like sass or like bitchiness in the gay community is kind of a pushback against oppression. And I know that sounds deep, but you know, gay men did not have it easy for a long time. A lot of them, probably the majority of them now, still do not have it easy. And you know, being a bit sassy, you know, fighting back against people that are shit to them, that makes sense. Like, if you're constantly on for your entire life, you're gonna have a bit of, you know, you're gonna have a bit of fight in you. But yeah, I don't know, just being sassy or being rude for the sake of it, not a fan. But I feel like there's probably a reason that people are like that. Somebody said, just because you're gay doesn't mean you need to do the voice. No offense to anyone. I feel like in 2021, we should stop saying no offense before or after statements that you know are gonna upset people. I don't really know how to start with this one. I've actually had quite a few conversations with people in my life about this kind of thing. Specifically, like, one person being like, oh, I really liked Tom Daly before he came out, but as soon as he came out, he started doing the gay voice, and he just doesn't need to do it. I think an opinion like this just comes from ignorance. Some people just talk like that. Like some people just talk a bit feminine. Some people just talk a bit masculine. I just feel like if somebody speaks in a way that isn't, like, stereotypically gay or the gay voice, you know what I'm talking about. If somebody doesn't speak like that before they come out, and then they come out and they start speaking like that, I don't necessarily think it means they're putting it on. I don't think it does mean that they're putting it on. They probably just feel comfortable speaking like that now that people know they're gay. Like, before I came out as trans, I did not want to make specific parts of my identity obvious. I didn't want people knowing that I wore a binder, because then, you know, they would question if I was trans. I didn't want that. I didn't want to make that that aspect of myself obvious. If a gay guy is trying to hide the way he speaks before he comes out and then speaks like that after he comes out, I don't think that's a bad thing. And then again, like, who cares? Like why do you care how other people speak? Saying LGBTQIA+ is annoying and it should be shortened to LGBT+. I don't know how to feel about this. I feel like now we say LGBTQIA+. If we just said LGBT+, the Q's, the I's, and the A's would probably feel a bit like, oh, why are you not, why are you not including us? But then, like, LGBT+, the plus is for the Q's, the I's, and the A's as well. I don't really feel too strongly on this, but what I will say is that I kind of just say LGBT because it's shorter and easier to say in a sentence. I speak quite fast, and I don't really think before I speak sometimes, so LGBT+ is easier than saying LGBTQIA+, like that. It is a mouthful, but again, you know, I'm not fussed. Not too fussed. Somebody says there isn't over 100 genders or sexualities. If this was like 4 years ago, I'd be reading out this comment and being like, hell yeah, there's not. Right now, my opinion on this, I don't care. Like, I can't imagine caring about how many specific genders or sexualities there are. And I feel like whether you want to acknowledge it or not, there are probably thousands of people with thousands of different identities. I don't feel like anyone is really in a position to tell someone that their identity is not real. Like, there is boy, there's girl, there's demi-boy, there's gender fluid, there's gender queer, there's non-binary. There are so many different terms to explain how somebody feels about their gender. I don't really understand why people care that there's like too many genders or sexualities. I used to care about that because I thought it invalidated me. I thought that other people expressing how they feel about themselves somehow invalidated my identity, because I was really insecure in the fact that I was a trans man, and I didn't want all these trenders, you know, taking the spotlight and having everybody think that I'm like them. Like, that is how I felt about it, like, 5 years ago. But, like, I just don't care. Like, there is over 100 genders or sexualities. I don't really think any two people will have the exact same level of attraction to the exact same type of people, and whether you want to label that as sexuality or not, I guess that's up to you. You know, I'm bi. I could label myself, like, if there was a word for, like, 90% into men and 10% into women, then I would label myself that, but I don't care. I just say I'm bi. I don't feel it's necessary to define very specific aspects of my identity. I don't need that in my life, but if other people do, then who cares? Doesn't affect anyone else. Someone said, some of the LGBT flags are super ugly, lol. I love everyone, but the flag design misses a lot. Yeah, I agree. I think the lesbian flag looks great. I think the bisexual flag looks great. I feel like the pansexual flag looks fine. But you know, the non-binary flag is really ugly. Like, very ugly. Just the colors, they're just like they're not nice to look at. Someone said some LGBT people are excluding themselves out of society because they feel so special. It's kind of annoying. I understand that this is an opinion that a lot of people have. I think having this opinion probably stems from a lack of understanding as to why LGBT people feel the need to exclude themselves from society. Because I feel like 99% of the time that an LGBT person excludes themselves from something, it's because they don't feel welcome. It's not that they're choosing to not be involved in general society. Like, I still don't feel welcome in a lot of spaces purely because I'm trans. And I don't think it's fair to be like, oh, well, that means you're excluding yourself. Because these people could be really nice. I think a lot of the reason why LGBT people exclude themselves is because they've been excluded. And, you know, they just want to be around people that they know will support them. Like, let's say, for instance, that your knees got really cold. And the only way to stop your knees from freezing was to wear really long socks. And everybody at school bullied you for wearing really long socks, even though you only wore really long socks because your knees were cold. If everybody bullied you for having long socks, you wouldn't really want to be around these short sock people, would you? You'd want to find other people with really cold knees to hang about. And to snuggle at night so that your knees are warm. By the way, I don't know where this came from. I'm just wearing really long socks. But you get what I'm saying? It is a very bad equivalent, but if the majority of your life experiences have told you that you are not accepted by a lot of people, you would cling to the people that do accept you. In a lot of LGBT people's minds, it is not worth the risk of entering a space that isn't, you know, necessarily accepting of them because they've had bad experiences. If you're part of the LGBT community and you find these kinds of people annoying, then you probably just haven't experienced the same things that they've experienced. Somebody said, I don't think non-binary is really that similar to being FTM or MTF. If you don't know what FTM or MTF means, it just means female to male or male to female. This is a confusing opinion to me because non-binary covers like so many different identities. There are non-binary people that have chosen to go further with medical transition than I have. And I'm a binary trans guy. But then again, there's also non-binary people who don't choose to medically transition. There are non-binary people who don't change their pronouns. There are non-binary people that don't experience, like, a lot of trans-related issues. I think the non-binary community is way too diverse for me to agree with this opinion. I think one non-binary person could be incredibly similar to an FTM or MTF, and another non-binary person could have an experience that is not even remotely close to other MTFs or FTMs. Somebody said neopronouns are not valid, and I am so tired of the trans community using the word valid. What do you mean not valid? So I had a lot of opinions about neopronouns. I'm not going to go through all of them because there are so many. But before we get into them, I just wanted to find what a neopronoun is. I googled it, and it said, neopronouns are a category of new pronouns that are increasingly used in place of she, he, or they when referring to a person. Some examples include sie, them, sie, sie, her, hers, and am, They're just different pronouns. I mean, whether you like it or not, there are people that use neopronouns. There are people that happily live their lives knowing that their friends and their family will use their neopronouns. And I hope that makes you angry. But yeah, I don't really think anybody's pronouns are anybody else's business. You don't have to understand why people use neopronouns, but you probably should just respect the fact that they do, because you telling neopronoun users that they're not valid isn't achieving anything. It's not helping anyone. And if somebody wants to be called Ziza, just let them be called Ziza. I don't think it's that deep. I think in a past video, I did have a problem with neopronouns because I thought they were, like, weird. I don't agree with that now. I think I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I went around saying that they were weird because I literally got my tits chopped off. Maybe neopronouns are weird, but weird isn't bad. Weird could just be uncommon. I don't think most people know what neopronouns are, to be honest. So yeah, they're gonna be uncommon. But something being weird or uncommon or something being something that lots of people don't understand does not mean that they're not valid or that they shouldn't be respected. Someone said people that identify as kitten / kitten self, etc. are mostly why people laugh at LGBT. I also just think this opinion is, I'm not gonna say stupid. I won't say stupid. I think this opinion is misguided, but do we really think most people who are homophobic or transphobic or biphobic or lesbophobic or any of those phobics, do you think they're those kind of phobics because of people using kitten / kitten self pronouns? Because I don't. I know a lot of homophobes, and I know a lot of transphobes, and I think they don't actually know what neopronouns are. I don't think they've actually ever heard of anybody using kitten / kitten self pronouns. To say those pronouns are mostly why people laugh at LGBT is just wrong. Like, it's just wrong. This is a conversation that's been going on for ages. Like, at first it was, oh, trans people are why the LGBT community aren't accepted, because trans people are weird. And then it was non-binary people. And now it's people who use neopronouns. I think if somebody's gonna be a douchebag about your sexuality or your gender identity or your pronouns, then they're just gonna be a douchebag either way. Like, yeah, I'm sure some people that aren't familiar with the LGBT community would see these kind of pronouns and get confused and think it was weird. But that doesn't mean that people should just stop being themselves. I just don't think that's an issue. That's actually an issue. Like, I'm just trying to think of a situation where this opinion would have, like, some validity. Like, say you're a trans guy in school and you come out and you want people to use he, him pronouns, but they won't use he, him pronouns because they think the trans community is ridiculous because some people want to be called kitten. If these people don't want to use your he, him pronouns because other people use kitten pronouns, the issue isn't the fact that other people have kitten pronouns. The issue is the fact that these people don't respect your pronouns anyway. The issue is the transphobes, not the trans people, okay? Good? Are we good? Somebody said genital preference is a real thing. I agree. I mean, I don't think you... here's the thing, like, I don't think you can disagree that some people have preferences of genitals that they want to interact with. Like, I have a genital preference, and I'm trans. Obviously, there's an issue when people use genital preferences to be transphobic. And by transphobic, no, I don't mean, like, refusing to have sex with somebody whose genitals they don't like. I don't think that's transphobic. I've just seen a lot of instances where people have just been like, ugh, trans women are gross. I would never have sex with a trans woman. She has the thing. I don't want to have sex with the thing. That's an issue. But, like, just having a preference for genitals, it's not an issue. It's a thing. You can't change that. Someone said trans people shouldn't pay taxes. I'd have to agree. I don't want to know how much taxes I'm paying. What do you think about asking for pronouns? Good thing or nah? So here's an opinion. I have an opinion. Just myself, just personally, I hate when people ask for my pronouns. Because the majority of the time people have asked for my pronouns, it's not because they ask every single person they encounter for their pronouns. It's because they know I'm trans, because I've brought it up, or somebody else has brought it up, and they're like, oh, you're trans? I don't know what to call you. And I get it. I get it that, like, yeah, you should ask people their pronouns, I guess, if you're unsure, or if you don't want to assume. But I, personally, want people to assume my pronouns, which they do, which I'm happy about. I got my titties chopped off. I have been on testosterone for 3 years. I changed my name legally. I don't want to be asked what my pronouns are. And I know that's just a personal issue that I have, because obviously there are people that can look like me that use they, them pronouns, or she, her pronouns, or z, their pronouns. Like, I get it. It's not a bad thing to ask me pronouns. But, I don't know, I feel like as a trans person, it's very obvious when specific people are asking for your pronouns, like, why they're asking for it. Like, oh, you've asked everybody in the room for their pronouns because you saw I was wearing a binder and you wanted to know my specific pronouns. I don't know, I just don't like being asked for my pronouns. I literally made a video that was like half an hour long where I was talking about the fact that, like, I was a girl and now I'm a guy and here is me at various ages and how I felt about my identity. I made a video like that half an hour long and there were still people in the comments asking for my pronouns, and I get it. It's just extremely infuriating. I know it's a personal problem, that's fine. But yeah, asking for pronouns, more often than not, it's a good thing. And you know, on the other side, someone who is newly out as trans or somebody that doesn't necessarily like pass, them having their pronouns asked can be a really good thing, because then, you know, they can assert their pronouns without having to worry about getting misgendered the whole time. But yeah, I hate having my pronouns asked. Don't ask me my pronouns. Actually, last opinion. Somebody said a bi woman and a bi man is not a straight relationship, / two bi men is not a gay relationship. So true. So agree with that. I understand to the outside world, me being with Corey, people will be like, oh, it's a gays. It's a gays relationship. It's not. Neither of us are actually gay. But I understand why people think that. At the same time, like, two bi people who are, you know, a girl and a boy being in a relationship, that will come across to the world as straight. But saying it's a straight relationship, you know, kind of invalidates their bisexuality. For me, I don't care. It's not that deep. I don't really care if somebody's just like, oh, it's a gays. I don't care. But other people do. So that's a thing that you should respect. But yeah, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're all doing good. Hope I'm doing good as well. Hope I do good. But yeah, have a good day or don't. Later. See you later, losers. Goodbye. Jesus Christ, what's going on?